Okay, I guess we're live. Let's check it out. Yep. Okay. Well,
I can barely hear you, my friend. I can barely hear you.
Yeah, let me see if I can take care of that. I'll put you a little further over there. Yeah, because you're almost across the room. I have you on a drum throne right near the microphone. Let me bring you closer to me.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm right where you are. Oh, I think I got a better idea. Let's do this. Okay. Okay, let's see if this works. All right, well, welcome to Dee's Practice Pod. On the phone with me today is Rich Sadlo. He was my first private teacher. He's calling from Arizona. Where in Arizona are you from?
I'm from Tucson right now.
Tucson. Right. Okay.
And thanks for having me on, my friend. I appreciate it.
Well, it's great to have you on. Let's see. I'm going to hit pause for 1 second. I'll edit it later. I gotta configure the microphone correctly. Bear with me. That's cool. That's good. Okay. Okay. Can I get this off of here? Let's bring the whole McGill over there. That's what I'll do.
Isn't technology great?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. There. Just take the whole shooting match. Bring it over here. All right. You may hear a slight clunk.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got you on my headset, so
Okay, cool.
I've got my earpiece in, so I can still attempt to get some things done around the house while I'm talking to you. I'll be as quiet as I can, though, except for talking.
Okay. Okay, let's see how this works. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, terrific. Now I can hear you. All right. We have two microphones working here, so good. Okay. All right. So, this is a first. This is the first time I've done the podcast with someone on the phone, so everybody's got to let me know how this sounds after the fact. Okay, so, as aforementioned, you are my first private teacher. This was back sometime in the late 70s, very early 80s.
Correct?
Okay. We both lived pretty adjacent to one another. We were both in Westbury. And Rich moved to New Hyde Park. This is all New York. After a certain amount of time. And we lost touch for a while, as things do happen. But with the glorious internet, it's amazing who you could get back in touch with. It's funny if you were a person who was looking for someone even 15 years ago that you hadn't seen in 30 years. How would you even go about trying to find this person?
Oh, man, that's a killer question, and the only thing I could think of would be trying to hire a private investigator.
That's exactly where I would go with it.
Load of cash.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now you got to beat off people with a stick that you haven't seen in 30 years, because of what Facebook is, but it's pretty.
That's very true, very true. I agree wholeheartedly with that. But again, you got to give, I got to give Facebook credit because it's given me the chance to find a boatload of people that I have been looking for.
Oh,
So
certainly, absolutely.
It's nice in that respect.
Sure. The world has become a smaller place.
Oh, without a doubt.
So.
Without a doubt.
That's terrific. Okay, so Let's go to your early history as a drummer. Cite some of your early teachers, influences, conquests. Let's go with teachers first.
All right. If I remember his name correctly, his name was Steve DiRenzo, or DiRienzo, and that's got to be 1973, fifth grade, 10 years old. He was the band director at Park Avenue School in Westbury.
That would be Dennis then, Dennis DiRienzo, right?
And maybe, but again, dude, this is 40 years ago. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I'm right behind you, so yeah.
No,
But
I know, and it was like, you go into school and it's like, okay, you can check out these instruments here and check out these instruments here, and I remember going home and telling my folks, I said, all right, Mom, Dad, I need $15, and they're like, what for? I said, a pad and sticks, and it kind of, started from there.
good old 8-inch Remo pad.
Oh, that classic Remo tunable practice pad.
Right.
Pair of 5Bs, and I don't even remember the book that we used, but
Wow.
that's again. And you in your studies you go through so many books and so many different ideas. It's like you can't remember which book was the first one.
Right.
And so he was obviously my first teacher.
Mm-hmm.
High school. Well, I went to Westbury Junior High.
Right.
And I can't for the life of me remember his name. But he was a decent teacher. Not really a drummer, but
as is normally the case.
band
Yeah.
director.
Yeah. Right.
Say it again.
As is normally the case, it's rare where the band director is a drummer first and foremost.
Well, that's what DiRienzo was. He was a drummer first and foremost, which is great.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so that made it, obviously that made it a whole lot easier to get, to get your head wrapped around certain ideas and whatnot. But then when I was in high school and I moved to Newark Park, band director, and I will remember his name because, I was in marching band, I was in the quote-unquote jazz band, the stage band, Mr. Bill Milner. And the dude played the accordion. That's what his primary instrument was.
Wow.
And he was severe old school 50s. I mean, he had the flat top haircut.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
Nice guy, but just it was just that kind of weirdness going on.
It's funny because you're more describing a gym teacher than you are a band director.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So my dad was a teacher in Great Neck. He taught at Great Neck South, and a guy named Mr. Joseph was a friend of his who was a drummer, and he was actually my first private teacher, guy who came to my house once a week, and he played for the Tommy Dorsey band for a while. So he got me into, learning a little bit more about jazz and doing stuff on the kit that really I had never really learned from anybody.
Right.
But he was my first kit teacher, I guess you could say.
Okay.
And then I studied with him probably for my entire high school career. I think I studied with him. And Stuart Joseph, phenomenal guy, phenomenal player, had a great feel too.
Wow.
Then I started taking lessons at the Long Island Drum Center.
Right.
I can't remember the first guy I studied with, but he kind of pushed me into going to Berklee College of Music.
Right.
So I went to Berklee College of Music for 2 semesters, absolutely hated it. I mean, absolutely hated it. Some
Right.
people are made for college, some people aren't. I am
Right.
one of those dudes who is not made for college. It just wasn't for me. So I came home and got into a couple of bands and got really frustrated with the band scene on the island. Went back to school for another semester. Realized that this is definitely a bad idea. Came home and that's when Dennis Ricci told me about Dom Famularo.
Right.
So I started studying with Famularo in '84, and studied with him for about 18 months. And he got to a point. He's like, Rich, I can't. There's nothing I can do with your hands, and I don't know why. He goes, I'm going to send you to this other guy, and I'm like, all right, because Dom taught me a lot. Taught me how to relax when I'm sitting behind the kit, how to kind of flow a little bit better in transitioning between toms, and how to use the drums a little bit more musically.
Right, that's what I was just going to say. Very, very musical.
Yeah, and Famularo has got to be one of the best, if not the best, when it comes to teaching that type of stuff. He's got this air about him of, you can do it no matter what, man. It's just, just do it, and it'll come to you without any issues.
Well, he's part drummer, teacher / motivational speaker.
Oh God, yes.
As a matter of fact, if you look at his website, even it's sort of split in that regard.
Yeah, and and the thing was, when I was studying with him, he wasn't really a motivational, speaker.
No, you got him earlier on, Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I was one of the lucky ones.
Right.
And excuse me, for the early lucky ones.
Right.
Because I think anybody who studies with Famularo is very lucky. And
oh, certainly. Yeah.
If you can get the chance to spend an hour with the man, it's worth the money. It really is.
Sure. If you can actually grab a hold of him, this guy logs in more hours in the air. It's unbelievable. The last time I talked to him was, it had to be 8-9 years ago, and he had to cut the conversation short because he was in England and he was on his way to some other event. The guy's constantly on the go.
No, that's the truth. So. That is the truth. I'm lucky enough to have his cell phone number.
Yeah. I don't even know if I still have it, or whether I'm certainly not. I'm sure that I don't have the current one, because
I'll give it to you later.
That's terrific. That's terrific.
But he actually then sent me to the renowned Jim Chapin.
Right.
So I studied with Chapin for about, I'm going to say 8 months. And he just got super frustrated with me because for some reason my left arm would not, my right arm would not grasp the molar method. My left arm would. I'm left-handed.
Right.
Okay? But all the other instruments I play, like guitar and bass, I play left-handed. My right hand is more dexterous than my left.
Now, I remember you playing drums on a right-handed kit.
And I do play drums on a right-handed kit. I'm right-footed and left-handed, which is kind of perfect for playing a kit.
Sure.
So I can get the molar method down with my left hand. I just couldn't get the motion right with my right arm. My right arm just refused to do it, and to this day, it still refuses to do it. But I can do nice, clean 16th notes on a ride cymbal with one hand with no problems.
Sure.
With my right hand, because those fingers are more dexterous than my left. Ask me why, ask me how, I'll do it. You got me on that one. You could put a gun to my head and I wouldn't be able to give you the answer. So he just got frustrated with me and basically said, all right, yeah. So I went without studying with anybody for a long time. And then, again, through Facebook, actually, no, not through Facebook. How did I find him again? I think I had gone back to New York because I moved out to Arizona in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gone back to New York a couple of years later to actually ship my drums out here. I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment on the 2nd floor, and there was no way I could bring my drums out to Arizona. I had nowhere to store them.
Well, certainly even if you got them there, where were you going to play them?
Right. And I happened to meet up with a couple of guys at a jam session. Believe it or not, it was an open jam session I got invited to, and I went and played the jam session, and I got invited into a band.
Wow.
I don't have a kit. Where's your kit? It's back in New York. Bring it out. Where am I going to put it? Guy had an apartment, which is also the rehearsal space. It was basically cottage.
Okay.
Okay, so it had a kitchen, a bathroom, a bedroom, and then one large room, and that was the rehearsal room.
You're like an open floor plan.
It was great. It was just, it was absolutely perfect. So I went back home, went back to New York, and went to the drum center. And believe it or not, Dennis hooked me up with Dom again. So I got in touch with Dom a couple of years later, and in 2009 I went back and I had a 2-hour lesson with him.
Oh, is that was this around the time that your folks had their anniversary deal?
No, my folks had their anniversary in that was 2001 was their anniversary. That was my parents' 50th anniversary, 2001. So, right?
Time just
2011. 2011 was their 50th anniversary.
Okay, that sounds more like it. Yeah, because I remember hearing about it on Facebook in 2001. Yeah. Not only there was no Facebook, but there were 2 towers downtown. So.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I hooked up with Dom again in 2009 for a nice 2-hour lesson,
which is the best way to get him, because he has a tendency, because he is this magnanimous personality, he'll talk a lot, so you gotta get down to the
he definitely does do the talking, that's for sure, but he also how do I put this, he is hands-on in a way that I found to be really beneficial.
Right.
So it's like we were still working on my hands. Dom and I work on my hands, and it's really like, all right, I guess my hands really do suck. I don't know. But he gave me a boatload of new ideas and new ways to approach how I can use my hands more efficiently.
Right.
Because I was dealing with carpal tunnel back then too.
Sure.
And so he gave me new life in that respect on how I can actually approach the use of my hands on the kit.
Right.
And basically, it's one of the things that any chance I get to teach out here, I push that on the students that I have. And
sure.
I just call it the wave goodbye. That's the hand motion.
Right.
Goodbye with a stick in your hand. That's the easiest way for me to put it. And I find that, especially for me, that particular methodology works. Now, sure, do I roll my hands over? Yeah. On occasion, you're gonna roll your hands over. But anytime I'm just, laying into the kit, it's wave goodbye. It's a more natural motion physically.
Right. Right.
I know I kind of drifted off there, but
no, it's all the same. It's all the same thing. We're all going, with your history, So
yeah. And influences. You asked me about influences. Let's see. I guess my first influence was Carl Palmer. Believe it or not.
Yes.
A friend of mine turned me on to ELP, and I was just blown away by that. Obviously, growing up in the '70s, Peter Criss was big.
Right. Well, when I met you,
it was a huge Kiss
it was
fan.
the Kiss Army.
Still have a lot of memorabilia.
Right.
From that particular band.
You're the one that got me into Kiss to begin with, which is the first band that I was into.
Oh, I'm sorry I did that to you, my friend.
Look, it is what it is, and after that, I went to the Police, and then after the Police, I went into Rush and never looked back. Those two bands, the Police and Rush, really speak to a lot of the things that, as a drummer, I find musical. But you really couldn't have Rush without Kiss, because their first real major tour was with Kiss, and the guys from Rush will tell you there is no band that works harder than Kiss to give you a great show. Their songs are a little simpler, when you've been playing for a while and you're looking, for something a little bit more complex to chew on. Of course, you usually put Kiss aside because it's a lot more rudimentary. But look, it's a show, and you
and that's exactly what it was. And
right.
I think I've seen Kiss over the years, maybe 7, 8 times.
Wow.
And put it this way, I was that type of fan that I went to Madison Square Garden in full makeup and costume. I've been to the Coliseum in full makeup. So, yeah, I was that type of fan. I was one of those guys.
That's great. I dressed up one time. It was for a Halloween party, and I didn't dress up as Peter Criss, as you would imagine. I dressed up as Gene only because I started the Peter makeup, and I goofed it up, and I'm doing it in a mirror, and I have to finish off as Gene because, well, there's more black in that one. So it's it's easier to correct your mistake. So
I went with Gene. I could emulate some of his tongue motions.
Oh, okay. That's great.
So that's why I did that. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, so Kiss was probably, Peter Criss was probably the second influence, and then I got into Genesis. I got into Phil Collins.
Oh yeah. Well, you're a left-handed guy, which is interesting because he plays left-handed on a left-handed kid.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. It's just the way he played. I mean, even on the early stuff still blows me away.
Yeah. Well, they're one of the starts of prog rock, really.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And then from Genesis, I got into Yes.
Right.
Listening to Bruford.
That's pretty natural transition,
phenomenal.
Sure.
And King Crimson, and then later on, I got into Rush. I listened to Rush. I have a few albums, but I saw them twice. And the second time I saw them, I could have sworn that Neil did the exact same solo that he did 2 years before. And it just didn't sound. How do I put this? I'm not knocking the man in any way, shape, or form. The guy is a phenomenal drummer, phenomenal player, phenomenal writer.
Right.
And I do use him as an influence at times, but I just find his playing style to be, for me, and I know people are just going to be like, "What the hell is he saying? Is he out of his mind?" I'm not drummer bashing here. I just find him to be a little stale. His playing is just a little stale. That's me.
Right.
But then I got turned on to Dream Theater.
Right. Another Long Island guy, Mike Portnoy.
I was just like, this is insane, And so that's where I really started getting more into prog, quote unquote.
Right.
But now I listen to pretty much what you would consider alternative rock. I'm listening to Breaking Benjamin, Slipknot. Trying to think of bands that I'm listening to here. Third Eye Blind. 3 Days Grace.
Okay.
Some of those players, and I don't know their names. Forgive me, but some of those guys are just kick-ass players.
Sure.
They're solid. They're clean. They're inventive. And it's something a little bit different for me, coming from the background that I come from.
Right.
There's certainly 70s and 80s rock.
Right.
Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I was playing, and
Sure.
I still love to play to this day. I mean, Clive Burr was another phenomenal influence on me. I used to set my kid up like he did for a while.
Yeah.
Till it got really ergonomically crazy, But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I try to listen to a lot of different types of rock. I am not a jazz player. Never claimed to be. I can swing if I have to,
Sure.
but that's not my forte.
Well, it's not your passion.
Rock player.
Sorry? It's not your passion. It's different to sit down and learn these things and be proficient in playing it. It's another thing to be able to put your heart behind it.
True.
So.
Definitely agreed with that. So those are my influences. I only got into double bass drums probably 10 years ago, and I'm using a double pedal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using a DW 5000. Sorry for the plug, but I love the pedal. And after after I have the surgery on Monday, I'm going to be working on my feet. I'm going to go through stick control like Famularo suggested and do it with my feet.
Might as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be able to use my arm.
Well, that's the way it works. You know, I had a similar situation a few years ago. As you know, I'm an avid weight trainer. I've been doing, that's the thing I've been doing in my life the second longest. Drums first, then weight training. And I had a little mishap where I tore a bicep tendon, and I had to have it surgically reattached. And there was some downtime for me, you know. And what is your recourse? Your recourse is to work on some of the things that your other limbs have to do during the time, and then that limb will have to do some catch up, you know. But it is what it is. So I wish you luck with the surgery, and hopefully your recovery will be worth the anguish that you're about to go through. So not to
yes, I am hoping that myself, Andy. I'm hoping that myself.
Of course, not to throw a dark cloud over it, but I have a feeling that we're both pretty much simpatico in exactly what you're going to be expecting, at least for the near future.
Pain.
So
I'm expecting pain. Is what I'm expecting.
Pain, yeah.
I'm expecting to probably wake up sometime Tuesday afternoon and just go, "Oh no!"
Oh, when is your surgery?
Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon. So it might be more like Wednesday. The body might go into a little bit of shock first. And then
there's that possibility.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've had any major surgery. Again, I've been in construction for 30 years.
Right.
So in the last 20 years, I'm missing a tendon in my left hand. That was fun.
Wow.
I had a fight with a saw, and when you have a fight with saws, you always lose. Okay?
Yeah.
So anybody out there,
you're not even in the same.
Any of the kids that might be listening to this, if you're going to go into a field that where you're using your hands, make sure you're always paying attention to where your hands are.
Right.
Any power tools you might be using.
Yeah.
And after that surgery, I actually played a couple of shows one-handed because I had to.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you got it booked, you got to do what you got to do.
And it was funny. I mean, in all honesty, it was funny, but I was pretty proud of myself because I actually made it through, 3 40-minute sets, playing basically one-handed. It was like, okay, I can do this. So.
And did your audience see what it is you were dealing with, or?
Not really. During the breaks, some of the quote unquote diehard fans that we had would come up and go, "Why the hell are you doing this?" I said, "What, you gonna come up here and play?"
Yeah, well, that's the difference between an audience member and the person who's on stage.
Yeah, so. I mean, the guys in the band were absolutely thrilled that I was playing, and were pretty amazed that I was able to at least keep up. Obviously, my fills weren't as cohesive as they could have been, but I still tried to make it happen.
Extenuating circumstances.
5 years later, I did something similar to the other hand, and I ended up I'm missing a half inch on my right thumb.
Oh, terrific!
That wasn't so bad because I could grab the sticks. I could grab the stick between my index finger and my ring and my middle finger, and still get a semblance of playing. So I was still doing shows 1.5-handed at that time too. Now,
are you? Do you switch off? Are you playing traditional grip, or are you playing matched grip?
I play matched.
Okay.
I've lost the technique of playing traditional, and I think that was due to the first surgery I had on my left hand.
Right.
Trying to lock that stick in there. My thumb doesn't work as well as it used to due to the surgery.
Right.
Okay. It works, so don't misunderstand me. But I did some severe damage.
Right.
So using traditional grip, I find it puts too much strain on my thumb.
Right.
So that's why I use match grip.
Okay.
I'll say 99% of the time.
So do I, for the most part. Firstly, traditional grip is literally just a tradition, and for certain people, they get into a mindset when they're in it. But I find, just as a human being, if we are symmetrical animals, why are we still holding on to that thing? There's not that many skills, not that many things you're going to do around a drum set where it's actually beneficial to,
True.
you know, at least not in my setup, not in what I play. You know, some of the jazz guys may, you know, just because, well, it's again tradition. They might, you know, and don't get me wrong, I do play some jazz. I took 17 years worth of lessons from a jazz master, but I don't consider myself a jazz player. I'm anything but. You know.
and I will say the same thing for myself. I am anything but.
Right, it's because.
And I agree with you with the whole thing on you know, traditional grip being a tradition. I mean, you look at the history of it and why it came about. It's if you look at that lineage, it all makes sense.
Sure. Right.
Because that drum was slanted away from your left side.
Of course.
So to be able to even make contact with the head, you had to have some kind of rotation.
Sure.
That rotation makes sense.
Oh, also just to not wear out the shoulder that was attached to that hand. It would be up in the air otherwise, right? So.
Oh, sure. I mean, it would have been. I bet you in the early days it was pretty painful to be a drummer in the Army. I bet you it was just as simple as the dudes carrying the gear.
Firstly, you're a way bigger target.
Yeah.
So.
You know. But yeah, and still, I can understand why some people like traditional grip. When I was learning, when I was playing, you know, when I was studying with Stuart Joseph,
mm-hmm.
He was teaching me finger control. So I was learning finger control and traditional grip on the left hand, getting the index and middle finger to actually control the stick more. So that, I think, gave me a little bit more dexterity in my left hand when it came to quote unquote stick control.
Right.
So when I went to primarily using matched grip, that finger control, I think, gave me a little bit of an edge.
Right.
And then when I finally, you know, got the fundamentals of the Moeller method down, I look at some of these guys. When I went to a show last night, see 4 bands play last night.
Wow.
And I'm watching these guys play, and I'm going, you guys could be using so much less energy if you used some of the Moeller method, and if you used your hands instead of your arms to play the drums. I mean, it still bothers me that guys try to play like that mechanical monkey. Yeah. You know, yeah. It's all arms, and that drives me up the wall, and I want to go up to them, and this may sound really egotistical on my part, but it's just because I want to help them. It's like,
sure, yeah.
You don't have to use your arms like that. I mean, your arm is a fluid limb. It's not one rigid thing.
Well, look, if you saw,
it drives me nuts. It just drives me nuts because they'd be able to get so much more power, so much more control just by letting their arm do what it's supposed to do.
Sure. Yeah. Get some more.
Wow! It just drives me up. It drives me up the wall. It really does.
Well, they'll get more MPGs.
Going on my little rant there, but man, oh man, I just want to slap them upside the head and go, dude.
Yeah, I totally understand. Look, if you saw a guy standing in a corner, like hitting himself in the head with a hammer, you would want to stop him, right?
You definitely try to.
I was sort of hoping you would say yes. Okay.
It's like, but I mean, and again, so I've been lucky enough to have a couple of students here in Tucson.
Right.
And one of them happens to be was my my ex-boss's kid. And the thing that was really weird is that when she
Yeah. 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 If only, right?
And it's like, yeah, I'd love to. I would love to be able to teach full time. I would love to. But with all the advertisements that I've done here in town, I've been blessed to have 2 students.
Yeah.
One of them, then that one kid, now he's off in college up in Phoenix.
Yep.
Totally given up the drums, which is disappointing.
Oh, of course.
And then I've got another great buddy of mine, another contractor, believe it or not. I've known this guy for 18 years, and I kept telling him every time I went to see him play, or any time I talked to him, be like, all right, you gotta relax your hands.
Yeah.
I mean, was always wearing drummer's gloves. I don't understand drummer's gloves. Forgive me, I don't.
I don't either.
All right? I mean, his hands are as calloused as mine.
Right.
Okay? And I said, all right, dude, you're coming over to the house, man. You're coming over to the house. I'm going to charge you half my rate. Come on over to the house. Let me show you what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Please. So he finally broke down and came over. I gave him like 3 or 4 lessons, and he was just like, he went back to the band to do the next gig, and he wasn't wearing his gloves.
Well, that's good.
And his lead singer looked at him and was like, "Where are the gloves?" He's like, "I don't need them." And that made me feel so good because he actually understood the concept of that wave goodbye thing that I was talking about earlier.
Right. Yeah.
And he was like, my God, that has made such a difference in the way I play. And I'm like, been trying to tell you this for 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's that epiphany moment, you know?
Yeah.
And
so that's if there's a cornerstone to what I would like to teach is it stems from what Dom taught me and what Mr. Chapin taught me, and it's just the fluidity of motion from the shoulder down through the fingers.
Right.
And that's what I try to. That's what. How do I put this? That is what I want to be able to teach.
Right.
I am no phenomenal drum set player. I can play. All right. I am the best adequate drummer out there.
Well, I think you're downplaying your talents a little bit, but
I'm no Portnoy. I'm no Neil Peart. I'm no Phil Collins. I'm not a rock star. I can hold my own. I can play any song that you put in front of me. All right. Let me hear it on the radio. I can play it. Although I can read as well,
mm-hmm.
I can play it, and I'll play it solid for you.
Right.
I want to be able to teach guys how to enjoy playing the instrument with less frustration of them not being able to flow. That's my thing.
Well, I'll tell you, for my personal experience, being as you were my first teacher, you're the guy that got me over the first hump, and that's where you're trying to get your bass drum to play more than just quarters and eighths and sort of do those 16th notes that land in between hi-hat strikes, and that's what I was having the frustration with, and you're the guy that got me over that hump, and without that, I probably still would not be playing.
Oh, I appreciate that, my friend. I really, really do. That touches me. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, because without it, I wouldn't be sitting here. So.
Well, then you are more than welcome, my friend. More than welcome. It's an honor.
Well, all right. Well, could you tell me, other than, of course, the impending surgery, what musically are you doing now?
Right now, I've got 2 cover bands that are kind of in limbo because they're all waiting for me to have the surgery. I have not been able to sit behind the kit and actually play 4 limbs for probably, I'm going to say at least 2 months.
Oh, okay.
That's because, again, I have a day gig like most of us grunts out there do.
Right.
And I use my hands all stinking day.
Sure.
So I get home and my elbow and my fingers on my right hand where I'm having the surgery are just on fire.
Raw, yeah.
So, so basically, the bands that I'm quote unquote in, I'm using that quote unquote because I'm not sure what's going to happen in the next 6 weeks, 2 months. But we're doing the one band we're doing pretty weird, some weird 80s stuff and 90s stuff, but we're also doing some mainstream rock of that era. Like we're doing Maiden, we're doing some Priest, we're doing some Van Halen, things along those lines. Your quote unquote classic 80s rock,
right?
80s, early 90s rock. The other band, we have a female singer, and she's phenomenal. She really is. Got a great voice, great personality. So we're going to be doing more along the lines of chick singer stuff. Like Melissa Etheridge, Bass Jordan, things of that nature. More Pat Benatar, Joan Jett.
Okay, maybe a little Heart or something like that.
Stuff, where it's going to be, I'll call it more pop rock than anything else. So those are the two projects that I've got going right now. I got a phone call. Actually, no, I got an IM on Facebook from a guitar player that I've been working with off and on for the last almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. And he's like, dude, what you got going on? And he knows about the surgery, and just about everybody on Facebook knows about the surgery now. But he's like, yeah, remember I was telling you about this one person? And I'm like, yeah, vaguely. You were talking about this person like 5 years ago. Right. He's like, oh, well, yeah, she's coming back into town. She wants to get a project back together. I said, dude, you know what my situation is? I'm more than willing to have a sit down and talk, but you know where I'm at. I don't know when I'm going to be ready. I'm hoping I'll be ready in 2 months. Right. That's what I'm hoping. So I have things that are in the works. And that's where I'm at. I'm just trying to listen and hear things that I didn't hear before. Right. Listening and learning songs on vinyl through headphones is one thing, and this is the only thing I will give the digital age is that when I listen to the songs, whether it's either on CD or I'm listening to it off the computer, and I have headphones on, I'm hearing things that I didn't hear back in the day. Right. So I'm kind of revisiting like the early Genesis stuff and some of the more of the early Genesis stuff, because I'm finding that I'm leaning back towards the way Collins did his fills and did his phrasing. Mm-hmm. And I'm hearing little nuances that I never heard before, and I'm being reinvigorated by listening to them again and listening to them with a different set of ears.
Now,
does that make sense?
Do you? Yeah, it does. Is that the digital age, or is it your more mature ear hearing things that you weren't looking for before?
I think it's a little bit of both. Right. Great question. I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah, being more mature in my playing and also in age is definitely puts a little twist to it. But also having the clarity, just the technology today that they have for even a pseudo audiophile like myself is just pretty amazing. I mean, I still have my turntable. Right.
Yeah. I have mine over there. It's the wires are dangling and not connected to anything, but it's there.
Mine works.
Yeah.
It works. Yeah. I still have my stereo from the 80s. I still have my Technics turntable, my Technics power amp. Yeah. All right. Come on, my kit. I bought my kit in 1983. I still have it. It's just, it's one of those things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But what it is, I think it's more with the technology that has developed with speakers has been pretty amazing.
Right. Yeah. They've been able to.
I think the headphones that we grew up with, as compared to the headphones of today, although the design is extremely similar because it's over your stinking head.
Right. Yeah. There's only so far you can.
I'm not so hip on the in-ear thing. That just kind of bothers me.
Yeah, me too.
I can understand it on stage, but that's a different conversation. But with the way they have redesigned the diaphragms and they've changed the structure of the cone in such a way that everything is so much more clear. You follow where I'm going?
Yes, absolutely.
It's just the sound clarity is so much better.
Well, they've been able to keep a nice.
Also picking up those nuances that I've never heard before.
They've been able to change it so the response is way flatter over the full spectrum that we can hear.
Correct.
So yeah, it's technology is a beautiful thing.
It can be.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
It can be. I'm not. Hey, I don't know. I'm just an analog guy at heart. Always have been. Probably always will be.
Well, I think that's we can get into a whole brand new conversation with that, and I think this is probably a great point to call it a day for now, and then maybe we'll just reconvene at a different time and switch subject matter ever so slightly to the state of music today, both technologically and business wise and everything else. But
wow, dude, I get ooh.
Oh yeah, that's why I figured we could easily go on for another hour, And
that could get ugly too. That could get real ugly.
As long as it's real, I don't care if it's ugly. So.
Oh man, that's almost opening up another can of worms.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do that for the next time. All right. So this has been Dee's Practice Pod. Our guest has been Rich Sadlo, my very first private teacher, and it's been an honor talking to you. It's been great I haven't spoken to you in a little while, but it's been fantastic, and let's make this more of a regular thing.
Oh, my friend, it's been an absolute honor for me as well. I really do appreciate the invite, and we have a history that goes back a long time. And
yes, we do.
I am very, very happy that we've been able to reconnect, and I wish you and your family all the best. And please, dude, give me a call.
It sounds great. Yes. Well, it's a beautiful thing to be able to talk to people so that you've had this much history with, and like I say, we'll make it a regular thing.
Sounds like a beautiful thing.
All right, my friend. All right, so I'll talk to you soon then.
Without a doubt.
Thank you very much, and I'll send you a text when this is up and ready for listening.
Great, I appreciate that. And again, Andy, I really do appreciate the invite. It's been an honor for me as well. So I hope you have a fantastic remainder of your day.
You do the same, Rich.
All right.
Okay, man. Thanks a lot, buddy.
My pleasure.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye.
Holy shit, is that loud now?